Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit here back again with Hunter Hunter. We are on episode 89, and in the last episode, I believe we are coming up to the sort of final decision, which is whether or not Gon and Killua can overcome Knuckle and, shoot at some point. I mean, they're gonna have to, right? If they're gonna be able to go back to the NGL. But yeah, Shoot hasn't really appeared yet to both Gon and Killua, so I don't know. I feel like they only have like a day left, right? This is like the final night. So they're gonna have to be quick and get this done. But yeah, we had Knuckle, who they're obviously going up against right now, call out a couple of weaknesses that Gun's attack has, like the rock paper scissors thing, right? Now I believe one of them is the slowness of it. Has to be. Yeah, it's way too slow. The second one I thought maybe could be the fact that he literally calls it out. So it's just another way of giving away what he's about to do. But I don't know, I could be wrong on that one. And then we have Netero, who basically said that he can't complete this mission without having to sacrifice somebody, and then obviously it listed like didn't list. It basically showed all the characters that I imagine are the ones that are in line to be sacrificed. And whether or not that includes Netero kind of changes my opinion on who I think should or could, right? So, yeah, we'll have to see what happens there with that. And yeah, we had Kite being controlled, and being puppeteered, which is fucking so disrespectful, and I hate it. But nothing I can do about it. So yeah, we're just gonna have to fucking wait and see what comes of that. Even though I feel like it's only for Neferpito's sake, and I just feel like he's not going to be at that same level anyway if he's just being puppeteered. So I feel like she's just going to be disappointed in the result. But anyway, we'll see what happens with it, and whether or not Shire, the other one of the other royal guards, I feel like he was controlling the puppeteer. I might be wrong, but it seemed that way. Otherwise, he was just playing violin, just enjoying it. But anyway, whatever. Yeah, right. So there's no other thing to really get into. So we're just going to get into episode 89, see what we get. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, episode 89. Okay, right, so the next episode, I believe, will be the decider. I think it's very rare. I think it's only happened once before where we've been in the middle of a fight and I'm being like, yeah, it's definitely going to end this episode. Because this show doesn't do necessarily, like, fights across multiple episodes, I find. So, I feel like they're generally... they generally like take care of themselves within an episode, or at most like two. But if you're talking about in minutes, it'll generally be like maybe it's like a 10, possibly 15-minute fight. So yeah, I feel like it's probably going to be done and dusted by this the end of this next episode coming up. But so yeah, I guess we'll just start from the very top. So the the first weakness was obviously the slowness of it. I figured that would be what it was. It's not hard to get. Risky was the second one. I mean, it's kind of like, I suppose it wasn't exactly too different from the second weakness that I sort of spouted out when I said that he calls them out, but and by like similar, I mean like they sort of go hand in hand with each other. The fact that it takes so long, and the fact that he leaves himself open because of that, all of it being situated into one area means that the rest of his body is completely unguarded. And yeah, as we've heard before as well, when you don't have like that kind of shield up, a punch meant to kill can kill. So so yeah, it's very risky. I like the fact as well that Knuckle was he was at a point that Gon's aura is like, he can see Gon's aura to such a degree where he can actually see where the sort of chink in the armor is, where it's not necessarily as heavily covered as the rest of them. So he uses that obviously to pinpoint where he's going to attack next, which is cool, because I don't think that's something that's ever been talked about in this show, in regards to like sort of armor, like being able to see. I mean, he said something. The subtitle was that that Gon had rough aura or something like that, and it wasn't as smooth. And the kind of image that I get from that is the idea, if you have how would I be able to sort of describe this that everyone would get? It's sort of similar to a smoothing tool on like Photoshop or Adobe Flash or something like that, right? So basically, when you make a line, or you like draw a line, if the smoothing tool is not off, then it'll be rough, and you'll see all the inconsistencies and stuff, and it'll be easier to notice. It's easier to notice sort of the the sort of the roughness of it, like the mistakes. Whereas if you use a smoothing tool, it smooths out from where you start the line to where you end the line, and because of that, you notice less mistakes, and it just looks like a smoother thing, like it isn't almost hand drawn. So I almost think of it as that, because his aura is rough, and they talked about it even later on in the episode when they were talking about how like I think was it Killua saying Knuckle had smooth aura, when he was sort of expositing. That's not even a word, is it? When he was given exposition. I'm sure there's a word for that, but I can't think of it right now. Anyway, yeah, that's how I think about it. I think because it's rough, it's easier to see where it drops off. Whereas if it was all smooth, it would all be, because I feel like aura kind of work. I imagine it looks probably similar to sort of how like a fire would work. So it would be like if it was smooth, like the back end of the fire would follow like the very top, right, and you get like that sort of smooth effect. Whereas if it was rough, you would be able to notice the sort of inconsistencies in it. But that's the way that I sort of thought about it. So you had Gonya basically saying that Knuckle was too gentle. That was something we already kind of guessed anyway. And he kind of puts on this sort of, he puts on that sort of persona, to seem more aggressive, when in reality his true nature is that he's gentle, which makes me. I mean, here's the thing, because this will go into when Killua said that if he didn't go all out, that he wouldn't forgive him, and I don't know if he will go all out, and that's the thing. Is like, I think it's good because it works both ways. It works by the kids also teaching him something, as opposed to the other way around. You know what I mean? So they're exchanging that sort of information, which makes them have like they'll have that good relationship after. I feel like, which is good. I feel like they already have anyway to some degree, but I'm not sure if that was a good idea for Killua to say. Like, I know that he was doing it for Gon's sake, because Gon gives it his all. So if it's not that way, the way Killua's thinking about it is, it doesn't benefit Gon to have this fight if you're not going to do your best to try and, meaning that if Gon was to lose, then, right, that's fair. Like, Killua was saying that's fair enough, because there's no use killing him for something that he was never going to win anyway. But, it's just one of those things where it's just not going to benefit Gon if he wins and it turns out that Knuckle wasn't going all out. I get that. But that's the thing, is like, I mean, to what degree does it, could it have, if Knuckle was to go all out and then because of that he ends up killing Gon, like, I would just wonder what that would do to Killua, like, because at that point it would be on him, really, like he would, because he's the one that urged Knuckle to go that far. But it's interesting that he would say that only for Gon, yet he is that whole cautious type of character, that if it was himself, then he would just do everything he could to back out. Whereas he knows that Gon wouldn't, Gon, in fights like this, would go up against Knuckle and not stop until, like what happened here, where he just didn't have enough left and, he conked out. Which means that it is sort of like interesting, the fact that Killua would have to just weigh up the, what means more to him. Like, Gon get like, because Gun's death could be on his hands if that was to ever happen. Now I know that's just not going to happen because then there just wouldn't be a rest of the show, you know. But it's interesting anyway, especially considering like what I said, like Killua being too cautious. If it was him, I don't think he would, because Killua doesn't give away that kind of stuff anyway, and he's just thinking about it from Gon's point of view. But you know, I mean, speaking of which, when Bisky was giving him this this sort of speech and pep talk and whatever, that he was saying that he's too cautious and that, you know, you underestimate yourself, and basically saying like in these situations where you should believe in yourself and go after it, I felt like it was a bit wrong, you know, because I mean, she even said like in order to get past that it needs to take a bit of willpower. Now maybe it was just a case of letting him know that's what happened, so therefore Killua has those words to think about, and then he can try and, you know, have the willpower to break out of that cycle and then whatever. But I think it pays and is necessary sometimes. Like one of the flashbacks that popped up when she was talking about this, about fights that, you know, where the opponent's stronger and whatnot, like you choose to run and whatever. It's like, well, against the Nefapito one, when he knocked out Gon and ran away, like that was necessary. Like, I'm sorry, there's no way they come out of that alive. You know, like even in a 3v1, I just think Nefapito was just on another level that it just wouldn't have, you know. Yeah. I mean, I guess he'll never really know. Like, because Gon was going crazy at that point. If he'd gotten to a point where he could have distracted Nefapito for kites to make a kill and blow, then maybe that's possibly what could have happened. But, you know, it's something that we'd never know. But I just think it's in some cases, it's necessary. You know, I didn't see anything that she was saying that ever alluded to the fact that sometimes it is good to escape. Like, it felt like what she was saying was like, take every fight. Now I know she didn't say that really, like it was, you know, it wasn't it just felt like she never alluded to running away at any point. Like she never said sometimes that's a good thing to do. If I'm being honest, I think that's the reason. I think that was on purpose. I think the reason why she never truly said that was because she can't give Killua any excuse, or to find any excuse to run, you know. So she probably made it a point to basically say, like, if you like, to not have any to give him any reason to sort of run away in some situations. But I mean, I think it is necessary at some points, you know. You can't just go up against everyone and expect, like, oh, I don't care if you're stronger than me because willpower will get me through. Because we've already been told that in this anime that doesn't happen. That's not, like, it's not what happens. There are consequences. So yeah. Yeah, we got Gon's paper technique eventually, which was very well, it wasn't very. I mean, it was weak compared, but you know, it was enough to use as a distraction at that point. And I don't know. Again, I've talked about anime time before, but it felt like it took a year for that blast to get anywhere near Knuckle. It was so long. It could have been anime time. Who fucking knows? But yeah, and I could see that coming a mile off with the distance that he had. It just had to be right. So yeah, it's good that. So yeah, we've seen them all now, which is cool. I love the gun when he faked him out. That was great. That was awesome. I mean, it did expend energy that could have been used, like in the last, like the very last punch where he conked out and he fell unconscious. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's like that shoulda, woulda, coulda, and it's like there's no way you could ever have thought about, like, that thought probably would have never entered Gon's head had he not done the fake thing first. You know, it's about just fighting, and I think that was probably the story of that fight between them in this episode was Gon, you know, basically throwing punches and everything like that to try and you know, to find a way around Knuckle and end up beating him. You know, just basically gathering information whilst fighting. So yeah. Anyway, back to the Killua thing with the cautiousness and whatnot. In that case, I feel like it's almost the fact that he's the one going up against Shoot probably is a good matchup then, or a similar matchup, I should say, between the two. Seeing as Killua is cautious and whatnot, yet Shoot is cowardly. So, I mean, we've only seen Shoot be a coward once, and it seems like it is a true thing that he has. So I would expect it to come out in the fight. And I wonder if... I feel like they're going to have similar sort of tendencies during the fight. Like, I feel like, you know, Killua will end up, like, about to use his transmutant abilities and, like, his lightning attacks. And Shoot might do something overly defensive or be overly cautious. And then Shoot will do something and Killua will do the same. And then we'll get, like, a flashback of Bisky, like, talking about the whole fact that he's cautious and whatnot. You know, so this could be like a big sort of thing coming up for Killua's character, and that whole being overly cautious, which will be interesting to see how it turns out as well. Like, depending on how he ends up fighting afterwards, like after he gets over that whole thing. I mean, even now that like it's been implanted, you know, within him, this whole thing that he's cautious. I wonder if this next fight, if he will be even more overly cautious because it's because it'll be nagging at him, or if he maybe tries to force himself to do something that he wouldn't normally do. I think that'll be interesting to see what happens with that. And then finally, Bisky's running away. I think that's it. I think she's heading out. I guess. I find it funny that Palm was, you know, peeking through the fucking door again. I feel like it was like when Bisky said that she had time to run away, it was sort of under the guise of because Palm's being like a fucking serial killer at the moment. So, you know what I mean? Just using that sort of wording to sort of get away. But I think that's it. I think she's probably just leaving. She's not doing a goodbye, which will probably be a thing of, you know, I can imagine Gon and Killua winning next episode, and then they go back to Bisky and find that she's not there. I think that's probably what's going to happen. But yeah, that's all I've got. So yeah, interesting, and I can't wait for the fight next episode. Alright, so that is all I've got. So thank you everyone for watching. In the description below I have links to certain things. One of them is the Discord, so you can get yourself over there, and I also have a Patreon page as well. So if you don't want to support me on Patreon, that'd be very much appreciated. There is a bunch of different tiers and rewards depending on what you want to support me with. So there's the early access tier, $5 a month, gives you access to shows a week early, and you get four episodes every week, as opposed to the usual 2 that the general public gets. So that's 2 extra episodes. So by the time this episode comes out for the YouTube general public, you could go over to my Patreon page, become an early access tier patron, and have access to the rest of the show's reactions. So, you know, if you can binge watch the rest of this show within a month's time, that means it's only going to cost you $5, like, overall, just to watch the rest of the show and my reactions. So pretty good deal. It's also getting very bright. I'm going to change the curtains on. Anyway, yeah. There's also full length for $10 a month there. It doesn't really matter for this show because this show's full length anyway, but for other shows you will need that. And then there are other tiers where you can pay to have a certain show reacted to. So if you want me to react to a show, then you can go have a look there and see what's up. But that's all I've got. So thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.